Tonight, authorities warn of an increase in cyber attacks, with scammers siphoning tens of thousands of dollars from the community's most vulnerable. And a Spencer Gulf farmer speaks out on the disease which is feared to buckle the lamb industry.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf studios, your nightly news with Louise Hubar begins now.
Good evening. Authorities are warning of a spike in scams relating to the coronavirus pandemic, with reports of online syndicates impersonating government agencies to try and lure residents to share personal information. The ACCC says residents in Port Lincoln have lost more than $60,000 to fraudsters this year alone.
Under siege with cybercrime on the rise, the pandemic proving to be an opportunity for syndicates to lure people in and exploit them, gaining personal details and money.
There's a heightened level of anxiety because nobody wants to get the virus, and so therefore if there's an opportunity to defend ourselves against it by following some information or clicking on a link, then we're more likely to do it.
The crime hitting close to home for Port Lincoln residents, with more than $60,000 being lost this year in the city due to online scams, up by more than double from last year.
The payoffs, if a scam is successful, are in the thousands or tens of thousands of dollars.
Experts warn fraudsters are impersonating government agencies to try and trick users to hand over their personal information.
They will ask for things like your name, date of birth, maybe driver's license number. And this is all very valuable information to be then sold on the dark web and through criminal enterprises.
The ACCC says there's been dozens of red flags after ransomware attacks were being sent from fake health departments.
And if we know that company, then we're more inclined to believe what they say.
Scammers have been sending through sophisticated emails, Dropbox links and even PDF files as important information around the COVID crisis. The message to the vulnerable that they need to be downloaded.
That information is actually worth a lot of money on the dark web. Healthcare records are some of the more expensive records if you're a criminal and you want to buy people's personal information.
The consumer watchdog warns that as the pandemic escalates, so too does the number of fake emails.
Trust no email, trust no web page, trust no phone call.
The advice from the experts is to make sure your device is up to date. Don't click on any links on emails and never share private information. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Sheep farmers struggling to get back on their feet during the pandemic are being warned of a deadly disease affecting livestock. The owner of a sheep farm just south of Cummins says the industry can't afford another blow.
Joe Darlett's livelihood depends on these sheep.
Farming and stock is 100% important to us. It's our total income.
Working in the sheep industry for 45 years, Joe couldn't imagine being hit by another financial burden.
COVID has certainly had an impact on us as farmers. Wool prices especially, they've dropped 550 cents.
Australia is the world's largest exporter of sheep meat, contributing around $5.23 billion to the economy each year. Devastatingly, it's facing its own battle with a common disease.
So Campylobacter is a bacteria carried by sheep and shed in their fetal fluids and in their faeces.
The bacteria is found in 95% of Australian farms, causing late-term abortions and stillbirths in sheep. Experts are now seeing infections increase in drier areas, including South Australia.
There's 2 main things that we see on farm. Firstly, you may see what we call an abortion storm, where you'll lose between 10 and 40% of lambs in a season. The other thing that we'll see most commonly is just sporadic losses.
This 40% loss could cause huge financial and emotional impacts to South Australian farmers.
Lambs on the ground is one of your bigger profit drivers in the stock game. So if this disease is aborting a lot of lambs, it's extremely concerning.
Vaccinations are key to prevention. Anyone who suspects this disease is encouraged to contact their local vet. Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
There's renewed calls tonight for Broken Hill locals to be let into South Australia without needing to self-isolate. The Mayor says a new travel bubble with Queensland should strengthen the city's case.
Broken Hill locals can now enter Queensland, albeit in certain areas, but they still can't set foot in South Australia. A travel bubble has opened with the Sunshine State, with residents in the 2880 postcode allowed to enter.
We can travel into parts of Queensland, but we are limited to that particular bubble that we can travel into.
2880 stretches from Broken Hill and Silverton through to Tibooburra all the way to Cameron Corner at the border. With the Far West region having not seen a coronavirus case in over 130 days, the Mayor says the area is low risk.
Queensland have done an assessment, they've done their risk management, they've seen that 2880 is a low risk. We can only travel to a certain area, that's all we're asking.
Despite the Queensland bubble, residents wanting to enter South Australia, unless essential, still must self-quarantine for 14 days. Broken Hill is 45 kilometres from the border, the case being made for a bubble to now open there.
People want to travel down for compassionate reasons. You know, there needs to be some kind of reconnection process here. Good story for Queensland. Let's see if the South Australian Premier would look on it.
In a statement, the SA government said it was not considering any border bubbles with Broken Hill. Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, an expansion set to increase capabilities at the Lincoln Gap wind farm, and a Broken Hill business forced out of its spot settles in another location. Hello again. The Lincoln Gap wind farm is looking to expand its horizons with 42 new turbines set for the site located just outside Port Augusta. The project is currently in the development approval process, and if it does go ahead, is set to secure more jobs.
Located 15 kilometres from Port Augusta, the Lincoln Gap wind farm currently homes 35 wind turbines. 24 are set for the near future and 42 hoped to follow in Stage 3.
It's already had Stage 1 completed. Stage 2 is about to start next month and be finished at the end of the year. And Nexif has an application in for Stage 3, which they would like to commence at the beginning of 2022.
That stage will be the biggest of them all, with a $500 million investment, bringing a total of 101 turbines to the Gap.
Power, to give, I think it's the easiest way to think about it. About 155,000 homes could be supplied by the energy produced by Stage 3.
So far, it is still in the development phase and still needs to jump through a few more hoops before the turbines hit the skies.
Go through the various connection approvals with Electronet and AEMO, source a power purchase agreement and get your financing lined up for that.
There's strong community support for it, there's strong landholder support for it, and of course the combination of a new wind farm with battery storage is exactly what we need.
If it gets the green light, jobs should be created. 120
to 140 construction-related jobs during the construction phase of the project, and then sort of 20-odd roles ongoing once we're through construction.
Laura Milovanovic, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Businesses across the Eyre Peninsula are being encouraged to provide their input on a proposed high-voltage transmission line. Electronet's 270-kilometre cable is set to be constructed from Coltana to Port Lincoln, expected to provide more sustainable and reliable power. Online meetings to discuss the works are set to be held at the end of the month. For more information, visit Electronet's website. The RAA is reiterating its warnings to motorists to remain vigilant when approaching railway crossings. It says drivers need to take extra precautions in areas with no boom gates or lights, with new statistics revealing 83 collisions with vehicles and pedestrians occurring at railway crossings last year.
Particularly in the regional areas, because often the trains are somewhat infrequent and you can cross the line many times and never see a train, and then one time there will be a train. So that's why it's so important to pay attention.
The message comes in the midst of Railway Safety Week. A Broken Hill business has been forced to move its location due to major roadworks happening on the street. The owner of Pets Tucker says while it is an inconvenience, the new location does have its positives and it's expecting a spike in foot traffic.
A temporary move, but one that had to be made. With City Council pushing on with its upgrade of Gypsum Street, local animal store Pets Tucker has been hit hard. The roadworks and street closure seeing the shop lose most of its accessibility and a big drop in business.
As time went on, the time frame was getting bigger and bigger. That was what was starting to scare us, and we potentially were looking at losing our businesses.
Over the past few days, the store, along with the Barkley Hill Garden Nursery, have found a lifeline, moving into the old Big W Garden Centre, making the most of a bad situation.
So much parking here, more than what we could ever have anywhere else in Broken Hill, so that's awesome. The foot traffic is something we would never get down there either.
It's been cold, but it's great to see everyone coming in and supporting us still.
Broken Hill City Council issued a release today detailing the effects of COVID-19 on its projects. The Gypsum Street rejuvenation was listed as one work that could be delayed by months, but they're staying positive.
Tomorrow we've actually got all our plants arriving, and as it gets closer and closer to spring, you won't be able to move in here. There's going to be that many plants.
Patrick Reinke, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. Sanjay Gupta sells off a business to find further expansions, and a Port Augusta business finds a reason to celebrate with their business open for 3 decades. Welcome back. Wireless Steelworks owner Sanjay Gupta has sold Zen Energy after purchasing the company in 2017. GFG Alliance will demerge Zen Energy into 2 separate entities, Zymek Energy Australia and Zen Energy Holdings. Energy Australia will continue to be owned by GFG Alliance, running projects such as the Coltana Solar Farm, while Zen Energy Holdings will retain the electricity and energy service side of the business. Lower Eyre Peninsula's Sportsperson of the Year Awards is the latest event to be axed due to the pandemic. Organisers say the tough decision was the only way to look after the health and safety of its athletes. South Australia's tightening restrictions and the lack of sports being played across the region made it not viable to host the event.
I think it's just a reflection on the way that the COVID situation has impacted our community. Sport's a very important part of our community. It's a great outlet when people work so hard.
Organisers will now work towards the 2021 awards night. Fundraising event Light the Night will be held virtually this year, with many locals across the region hosting their own event. The money raised will go towards the Leukemia Foundation, supporting families undergoing treatment for blood cancer.
Sarah Fazala was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia in May 2019, shortly after giving birth to her first daughter. The prognosis, a moment which changed entirely how she lives her life.
Living in regional New South Wales, I had to travel to Adelaide for several rounds of treatment, including a stem cell transplant, which now I'm cancer-free.
This inspirational survivor, like many, is looking forward to the Light the Night event. It's usually held across multiple regional city centres, but this year it's been changed to a virtual online concept due to the challenges of social distancing during the COVID-19 pandemic.
This year, Light the Night has been reimagined to a new, beautiful event called Light the Night at Home.
Unfortunately, last year I didn't get to participate in Light the Night, but this year, with everything that's going on, we get to do it from home. So my friends and I have decided that we're going to have a little get-together.
For the first time, locals can light up the sky from their own backyards, lounge rooms or even hospital wards. The money going towards helping many regional families forced to relocate to Adelaide for life-saving treatment, just like Sarah.
The staff and everybody was absolutely wonderful. Such an important place for us. It would be very, very different if we hadn't had them.
Australians all over the country will come together in a new virtual lantern lighting ceremony, which will be brought to life via video stream.
A different coloured lantern will be lit for a survivor, supporter or a loved one who has lost the battle with blood cancer.
We've seen a huge outpouring of support from South Australians, particularly in the Whyalla region.
The event will run on Saturday the 10th of October, the foundation encouraging locals to register online. Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A popular Port Augusta store is this week celebrating 30 years in business. Frank and Tracy started their shop hoping for the best and say they've now shared many fond memories over the years.
For 30 years, they've been behind the counter preparing meals for the Port Augusta community.
A lot of people out there like us, yeah, and they like the food. They like the family thing, yeah.
And it all began after a fisherman asked Frank to open a takeaway shop.
I give it a bit of thought. He come and see me 2 or 3 times, and I thought, oh yeah, why not? Give it a go. Well, 30 years later, we're still cooking fish and chips.
They say it's the ongoing support from customers that have kept the doors open for so long, and in some cases created lifelong relationships.
A lot of our customers call us uncle and auntie. They come back to visit when they've left Port Augusta, gone to Adelaide, they come back, they come straight in. First stop is Gills.
Tracy says it's been heartwarming hearing customers talk about their own memories of the shop.
Nice to know that there's a lot more people out there than we thought, and people just remembering how old they were, what they were doing when we first opened, how they used to come around for lunch at school.
Laura Milovanovic, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. We'll have this week's Fuel Watch and the weather details with Alex Sykes. Welcome back. Time now to see how things are shaping up when we head to the petrol pump. Here's Patrick Reinke in Broken Hill with this week's Fuel Watch.
It's good news at the Bowser this week, with many towns and cities seeing a drop in their prices. Starting with unleaded, and Port Lincoln is the first to get the green arrow, seeing a decline of about 2 cents to 1.16. That's the same price as Whyalla, which only saw a little bit of movement. Port Augusta has also enjoyed a 2 cent change in its price. While it is still the most expensive in the Spencer Gulf, the figure is only $1.20. Port Pirie joins Lincoln and Whyalla at 1.16, a 1 cent difference there. Meanwhile, Kadina is the only spot to completely break even, continuing to hover at 1.15. Here in Broken Hill, we're paying around $1.20 a litre to fill up. Not too bad. Adelaide is nearing the end of its cycle, plummeting 26 cents in the last 7 days to average just over $1. Turning over to diesel now, and it's a bit of a mixed bag. Port Lincoln is one of the places where the price has gone up. Locals now paying $1.18, the same as Port Augusta. A 1 cent reduction has Kadina sitting nicely at 1.16. Adelaide joins them after seeing a rise. Elsewhere, it's all quiet. Whyalla still on 1.21. Port Pirie is breaking even, and Broken Hill is up to 1.27. Finishing off with a quick look at auto gas, and there's not too much to report. The only changes, Whyalla is up to around 89 cents a litre, while Adelaide ticks down to 73. The rest of the board is quiet. Port Lincoln, Port Augusta and Kadina are also on 89 cents, Broken Hill 83 and Port Pirie doing the best on 82. Now remember that these prices are the regional averages and they do not reflect any one particular outlet. And if you do find a spot that does sell unleaded, auto gas or diesel for cheaper, be sure to let us know on our Facebook page.
Now for a look at what's happening in the weather, here's Alex Sykes.
Thanks, Louise, and good evening. There were showers across most parts today. It reached a top of 19 in Broken Hill, Port Pirie and in Woodner today. Port Augusta had the region's top temperature, recording a high of 21 degrees. It reached 20 degrees in Whyalla, while it was 17 in Kadina, Coffin Bay and in Cleve. In Clare it was pretty nippy with a top of 14 degrees. Port Lincoln saw 18 degrees, while it was showers in Adelaide, a top of 16 degrees today. Cloud crossing central and eastern South Australia with a trough causing rain, gusty winds and thunderstorms, mainly in the east. Patchy cloud in the west with a strong to southwesterly flow, generating the odd light shower. Moving on to tomorrow now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Northerly winds should reach 15 to 20 knots, seas 1 to 1.5 metres, south to southwesterly swells below 1 metre. There should be a shower or two across most centres. Port Lincoln and Woodner 17. Cleve should reach a top of 16 degrees. In Whyalla it should be partly cloudy 18. Port Augusta also partly cloudy, a high of 19. Kadina 17 degrees. There's a possible shower forecast for Port Pirie 18, a shower or two also in Clare 14 degrees and Broken Hill to reach 20 degrees. Taking a look further through the week now, showers across the region on Friday, temperatures averaging in the late teens, 17 degrees in Port Pirie, Kadina, Woodna and in Port Lincoln, a high of 18 degrees in Broken Hill and Whyalla, 19 in Port Augusta. Partly cloudy across most parts on Saturday, also showers and 16 degrees in Port Pirie, Kadina, Port Lincoln, 17 degrees in Whyalla and Broken Hill, 18 degrees and showers in Port Augusta. Partly cloudy conditions again on Sunday, 17 in Port Pirie, Kadina and Whyalla. Showers in Port Lincoln, also a high of 17, 19 degrees in Port Augusta, 20 in Woodna. So Louise, there's a little bit of rain around, which is always good for the farmers. That's all for the weather from me tonight. Back to you.
Lovely, thank you for that, Alex. Nice to have a little cameo from you. And that's the local news for this evening. Thank you for joining us. We'll have updates later. Until then, have a lovely evening. Good night.